Well,
And
exactly what you're just explaining is failing safely for the dog.
right,
Right.
right,
Ultimately.
right. But again, it falls into the pressure of a newer trainer not wanting to fail and not wanting the dog to fail. And that's also why I have such a gripe with like the advertisee dog training, 2 weeks, any dog, anything. Because what ends up happening with it is 2 weeks, man. Like really, I met a company that was like 2 weeks, any dog, any issue, any age, any whatever. It's strictly e-collar. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Strictly 2 weeks, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude,
And
what if?
to be clear, these are the 2 weeks we promise everything, people. There, you can do 2 weeks foundation stuff and then privates after, right?
No,
Like,
no, this was everything,
yeah,
beginning
yeah,
to
yeah,
end,
yeah, yeah.
everything. And I
Yeah.
was like, really? What if the dog is like 3 months old and new to everything? Oh, e-collar,
Mhm.
blah, blah.
Yeah, no.
And the way that I met these people, by the way, again, I was new to Arizona. I interviewed with them. So they were asking me about my knowledge base. I was like, oh, I'm super good with e-collar. I'm super good with food, super good with leash. And they were going through like hypotheticals. Okay, so if we were to hire you, let's say we gave you a German Shepherd puppy that's 4 months old and needs to do this. How would you go about it? Oh, well, I'm going to start him with food and I'm going to teach him this. And I want to do some tug with him. I want to build some drive and some focus. And it's a shepherd. Let's have some fun. And then I'll move him to e-collar on the back end, for everything else. And they're like, yeah, but since we only have 2 weeks, we typically start e-collar day one.
Fuck.
And I'm like, yeah, no, and they were like, okay, what if you have like a 11-month-old dog, you just bit the mom in the face or whatever,
Oh
you
my
know?
God.
And I'm like, well, similar. I'm going to start some rapport. Maybe I'll see if I can get away with food work. Some dogs are too nervous to want to do food off the bat, so I'll try leash stuff. I'll try walks. I'll try something. I'll try this or that. Um, and they're like,
You were
well,
too balanced for them.
but the same thing happened though. They're like, yeah, but we only have 2 weeks. You remember that? Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, let me put an e-call on this dog and get my ass bitten. Then, like, I guess that's what we're gonna do, right? But that really threw me off because just based on this program, their trainers must be stressed out. How are you going to give this person a puppy and in 2 weeks e-collar train this dog with an off-leash guarantee? That doesn't happen. So to me, it's just like, imagine the stress that the dog must have to go through.
The thing that's not fair is you're assuming, not you, but they are assuming that every single dog is at the same starting point, and that's really not fair in any shape or form. That would be like you have an out of shape athlete.
Right.
An out of shape professional athlete can blow the average person out of the water if they go, just start with a quick 2-mile jog and then we're going to jump to this. Where there's some people that can't even walk 2 miles.
Yeah.
So like you have to understand, like, the journey and the route that we want to take might be the same, but the starting point might be different based on what we have in front of us, and we have to be able to consider that.
Right. Well, that
2-week programs don't do.
One thing that Michael Ellis and Larry Crone really brought up to us, which I love that we have the opportunity to talk to people because they sometimes give you like the words, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what Michael Ellis said that really stuck with us was, can Blake Rodriguez do it with any tool, any dog, any time? Yeah, probably. Can he realistically expect the client to replicate this? That's kind of unfair. And like you said, 2 weeks, like, why wouldn't you just give the dog an extra week? That way the poor thing can start with food and have some fun. And not only that, but like we talked about in the very beginning of the episode, giving the dog more time is going to speak directly to long-term success, better retention, more fun with the program, which means also better retention, which means also more engagement, less stress, therefore less likelihood of things going sideways down the line that you then have to go and fix, and therefore less risk for everybody. So it's frustrating then if you can't tell, it's frustrating then that trainers who mean well, I'm not talking about this company, I'm talking about other trainers who they mean well. They're not the like cookie cutter dog trainers. Any dog works on any, every single dog's an e-collar dog, period. They're the like, I listen to other trainers. I take advice. I signed up for Consider the Dog. I like Sarah Brewski. I do my thing. But I really get uncomfortable because I'm not confident enough to ask for the third week, even though I know the dog needs it.
Week or the
fourth week or the fifth week. It's more money. It's more this. It's more that. The owners are going to be upset because they don't get their dog back. We're talking an extra like what, $700 to like $1,000 or whatever a weekly is, and they don't ask for the time, which again means inadvertently on accident. I'm not like demonizing them, but Now they're stressed out, which means they got to pressure the dog to meet this weird deadline, which means the dog's stressed out, the retention ain't there, and blah, blah, blah. And so we've been really trying to find the words. So back me up here if you agree that it's okay to ask for the appropriate amount of time to get the job done right by the dog.
Yeah, well, the thing, I agree with you. And I think the thing that is important is you have to set yourself up to be able to do your job and not seem like you're trying to upsell somebody
Right.
when a dog is not where they need to
100%.
be.
Right.
Important with like the promises. If somebody goes, well, what do you promise? Where do you promise this dog to be or this and by this time? And you guys were speaking about Michael Ellis, and he's an incredible individual. Like, not only is he a good dog trainer, he's a good dude. Like,
Yeah.
I've spent some time.
We picked up on that.
Down to earth individuals.
Yeah.
I've
Larry
met.
Crone said that, and he said also the best part about visiting Michael Ellis is the Chinese food or is the Asian food.
Oh, the Chinese food in the area. Yeah.
He said there's good Asian food in the area.
Listen, you're never not gonna have you will always have a conversation with Larry, and somehow food will enter the conversation.
Yeah.
100%.
He was talking about Peruvian food. He's talking about Chinese food.
Yeah, he called me out. He goes, Brent, where's your family from? And I was like, from Peru. And he goes, I fucking knew it.
So funny. That's so funny. He's a character, man. He's a good
guy. He's a
I
really
love
good
his
guy.
family. But going back to
Yeah,
Ellis,
sorry to cut you off. Yeah, go
he
ahead.
said something. Gosh, I don't remember what year it was. It was during an IACP. Had to have been when I presented. It was maybe 4 years ago when he presented. At the time, it might have been like 6 years ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said something that rubbed a lot of trainers the wrong way, but he was 100% right. And he goes, so I've watched him present at IACP twice.
Mm-hmm.
And the second time was super, like, it was like he thought it through. The first time he kind of just went up and was like, just spoke, but it was also really important. But he had made this comment that nobody is going to rehabilitate a dog in a board and train. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. You will not rehabilitate this dog, like a full rehabilitation, especially in like 2 week, 3 week period. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
And then like that rubbed people the wrong way that were doing board and trains, because they were like, no, what do you mean? I'm helping the dog and this and that. But he was right. Because what is the goal of the board and train program? And this brings us back to what you were talking about, is when you set someone up with realistic expectations of like, we're going to get your dog better. We're going to look to get the dog to as good of a point as we possibly can. Where that dog would be, I can give you a rough estimate, but I don't know, because I don't really know your dog yet.
Right.
But I know that your dog is going to be light years ahead of where they are now.
Yeah.
Right.
And at this time frame, whether that's 6 weeks, whether that's 8 weeks, whether that's 3 weeks, 3 is the least that we do. But that's not a problematic dog. That's like
Right. Like a baseline.
Little cupcake,
right.
You know?
Just to get the dog to a better place before I start working with the owner.
Right.
But at this 6 week mark, let's say, or just before that, I'm gonna let you know where the dog is and where they are not. And then I'm gonna have a very honest conversation about like, look, can the dog benefit from more time? What dog can't?
Right.
Like what dog isn't? Of course the dog. And like, would I love to have the dog for longer? Of course. But does the dog need to stay longer?
Right.
And what do I base that off of? Are we at a place with this dog where I go, you know what, this dog is in a good enough spot where we can start now working on you and developing your relationship with the dog and your starting point? Is this enough of a place where you feel comfortable being able to start from scratch with you and so on and so forth? And also with the specific circumstances that you're dealing with, is the dog in a place where it's realistic for you to take over? Or do I go, I think we need to get the dog to a little bit of a better place. I'm always shooting for perfection, but I don't expect perfection. Is this dog in a good enough spot where we go, okay, let's move on from here? Or do I say, hey, listen, I think we need more time? I would love more time, but I'm not trying to drain your pocket.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? We have to, there's so many things to consider in the pet dog world that it's beyond what we can get, what we can accomplish. And we have to consider the circumstances, the finances, the owner, what they're going through, their work environment. There's just a lot to it. So for me, going back to the board and train, I'm very upfront about this is what we can expect. This is what we're going to shoot for. This is the conversation we'll have before the program is over.
We'll keep you updated, and we'll keep you
keep you updated, and we'll decide collectively if you want to do this. This is what we'll do.
Mhm.
If you don't, that's fine, but this is where we are and this is what we can expect.
Right.
That changes everything, you know?
Yeah, can I get you, Blake, to if this sounds weird, what you just said makes
It already does.
okay, good. Here, the way that you just described that makes total sense to me, and the way that you would describe that to a client makes total sense to me. And I think that a younger dog trainer that we were just discussing that would not feel comfortable having that conversation, I think could really benefit from what you just said. So what I then wanted to ask you was, could you give maybe one more example for a newer trainer who knows they need more time? How would you go about explaining exactly what you just explained? Just one
To a client,
to like for a newer trainer to a client.
for a new trainer, like what is their job? Okay. How do they feel more comfortable?
Like give them a blueprint, a rough one, like even what you just did was served as
Or
an
some
example.
principles,
Right, or
to
some
follow.
principles of like, listen, if you think the dog honestly needs more time, and I totally agree with what you're saying about like there's a worth it factor, right? There's like a diminishing returns element to it of like the dog's good enough, you can go home, or I would like one more week, then the dog can go home. I'm not here to drain you, but I am here to do my job that you hired me to do.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's most important, and it sounds so cliche, but it's true, is you have to be honest.
Yep.
Right.
100%. Yep.
Like
I agree.
You have to be honest. And if you're honest with them and you go, hey, listen, I'm calling you or I'm emailing you right now. I like to talk over the phone for stuff like this because
100%. You have to have the emotional.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the newer generation doesn't know that. The newer generation may not know.
This is where we are. I'm honest with them, and I go, listen, Sparky is doing fantastic. Obviously, as you've seen, and this is a big thing for me, is we're really transparent. My team more so now than me. I have my Instagram page which follows me where I am, what I'm doing right now. I'm in Florida. I do more personal, intimate board and trains where the dog becomes a member of the family and lives with me, with my wife, with my kid. We have a baby number 2 on the way too, and all this.
Nice.
Very cool, man.
So dope.
With my kids, with my dogs, for whatever reason, and there's benefits to that. I do that here, and that follows me. But my team is always showing what we're doing with the board and train. So as you've seen, like this is not, I'm not selling you because like, oh man, we're not making progress with this dog. Your dog is playing with dogs now, or your dog is walking with dogs, and your dog is playing with us or is off leash. You're seeing these things. What I would like more time with is this because of so on and so forth. So it's just a matter of being able to articulate and explain things and be honest with it. That's really what it is. Right now where we are, I feel like I'm not quite sure if this drive or this motivation or this is realistic for you to take over. We're at a place where we made so much progress. I expect things. Who knows how we're going to do it? I think that the biggest advice is be honest with your clients and let them in so that they see that.
So they see the process. Don't have that veil, like Wizard of Oz, where they don't see what's going on.
Yeah, like let them see that you care and you actually give a shit. And this is where you are, where you aren't, what you would like to do, what you would like to work on, and also get their opinion and get their feedback. Because hey, if you do decide we do end the program tomorrow or next week, this is what sessions moving forward would be like. This is what we can expect. This is where your dog is, where your dog isn't, and this is where I would have you getting started. Just be real.
Exactly.
Just be real.
Here's another question for you. So I'm sure having built a business and just getting better as a dog trainer and a jiu-jitsu practitioner, it would seem to me, I think Brent would agree, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. Progress and stuff like that, progress in work and progress in BJJ and all different kinds of stuff can a lot of times be limited with personal growth progress. And with that being said, my question to you is, when getting comfortable, being honest, because it sounds weird to say on a podcast, but it's scary sometimes, right? So when getting comfortable, being honest, being upfront with clients or just in general, are there any other influences or books or things that you've read outside of the realm of dog training that have helped you in that realm, that have in turn helped you everywhere else?
I don't know if I've ever been asked that question before.
Exclusive here on the Dog Trainers podcast.
In regards to being honest,
Well, in regards to the growth associated with furthering your business, it can be honesty, it can be transparency, it can be being comfortable enough to put yourself out there in the form of video. Like an example, for me, I really like Jim Rohn. Brent really loves Tony Robbins. Like people who aren't dog trainers, but they kind of give you that push to just go, do, and be upfront and and kind of show who you are and all that good stuff. So that
Oh
because when
man.
your authentic self comes out, then people feel that you actually care.
Right.
Well, there's so much. Like there's Jocko, there's like Joe Rogan. Obviously, you guys like
He's dope.
you're doing podcasts. Like like
He's
that
the
guy,
king.
Rogan by himself. Like he's
Yeah.
he's so connected to so much from like
Right.
martial arts to this to that to like hanging with
He has a
Elon
great
Musk.
sidekick. Great sidekick.
Yeah, like his sidekick is something. Just surrounding yourself by that, like Goggins,
Yeah, I like
Jocko,
Goggins.
Rogan. You have Zig Ziglar. You have
Right.
Jim Rohn. Oh man,
Gary V's. Come on, shout out Gary.
Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Like I like that guy. Like there's so many people. But Brene Brown. Like
I love Brene Brown.
Many like people to just get your mind right and just and help you make not only yourself better but make your team better and really allow you to look at yourself and assess yourself and try to make yourself a better person, which is sometimes hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think one thing that helped me as a younger dog trainer is to know that you are not the problem. Right. Like there are variables outside of yourself that has made the dog the way they are. Right. Because there used to always be this pressure as a younger dog trainer where I was like, I got to fix it. I care about this dog. I don't want this dog to get put down or whatever it is. And it's like, understand that it's more than you. So it's almost kind of like a check to your ego, but also your insecurities at the same time. And it's just like, you have to, like, I had a client recently who dog usually about midway to a program, I start the owners doing sessions with the dog. So that way they can start developing the right. And it's so funny in that midway session, I start seeing like, oh, separation anxiety goes both ways because, a week and a half into that program, this woman was like, I'm ready to pick up my dog. And I need to, you know what? I looked at the pictures and his eyes were just so sad and
so
whatever.
sad.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I had to call her and I'm like, hey, lovely lady, love her. We're great friends now, but that happens. And when she came and she was very attached to the dog was very attached to her. This dog was like a little Maltipoo, biting everything, biting humans, attacking dogs, chasing skateboarders, doing all the bad things that a dog could actually do. But because he was this big, she just picked him up and kept him from stuff. Right. And she just rescued this dog a month prior. So this dog came to her with these issues. She just had a big heart and fell in love with the dog. And so midway through, I saw that this dog, after doing great on leash, doing great with the other dogs, playing with other dogs, being balanced, being able to be inside the house, responding to all his commands, responding to all his boundaries, as soon as she walks in, all of a sudden it's like crack, it's you. And he starts freaking out. And had I not sent her videos of his progress, she would have thought I was a con artist of some sort. Right. And so I had to explain her. I said, you saw the videos logically. You saw this logically. We're going to go for a walk. We're just going to start with a walk. This dog wouldn't stop saying, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up, pick me up. And it's so funny how deep some of these relationship issues and habits go, where had she not been on board, I told her all of these things up front, almost like I predicted the path because I've done this long enough, or I've been able to say this could happen, that could happen, this could happen. And I put it all out on the table. Had I not sent her those videos, had I not been upfront with his progress, had I not, I didn't sugarcoat anything the first week. Yeah, he's having some trouble. He's not eating all of his food. We're hand feeding him. He had a little bit of stress colitis, like, this, that, there's a lot of things. I was up front and I said, but he's going to get through this. Right. And so when I called her on day 10 and I connected again with her, she was ready to pull her dog out of a 6-week program. Right. Oh, wow. And she was ready to pull out. And I said, listen, this is normal. This is part of the process. This is, we see it time and time again. You have to just, this is the case. And the cool thing is she came from a discipline of fitness where she would like help people get better and lose hundreds of pounds. And so it's cool to be able to tap into someone else's discipline, where I said, the first 2 weeks are the hardest with the dog. First 2 weeks is tough because that's where they're transitioning. That's where they're learning new skills, and they're just trying to feel where they are in the system. And I said, he's very happy here. He's very happy. So I had to send her pictures of him playing at day 10 and all this stuff. And had I not been transparent, but honest, right? Had I not told her he's not perfect, but he's getting better. He's not perfect, but he's getting better. And I remember when I was a younger dog trainer, I always wanted to have this like, oh, he's fine. They're doing great. He's doing wonderful.
Right.
But that being honest is the key. Is just being upfront with people, so that way you're not blowing smoke up their ass. So that way, if I do need the extra week, I ask for the extra week, and they understand that it's part of that process.
Right. It doesn't come out of left field.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.
We really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you back for the next one. But in the meantime, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Dog Trainers Podcast. Go ahead and leave a comment. Ask us any questions that you want. We would love to connect with our dog trainer communities all around the world. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.